Good evening, Knicks family. Welcome to the show. Glad to be back. Missed you guys last week. But again, as always, I got a lot to say. We're going to talk a little bit about the Olympics. There's some key dates and news that I want to keep you abreast of. There's some players of ours that's an interest. There's some players of ours that may be of interest to you, that I think will be of interest to you connected to the Olympics. We'll go over some free agent trade rumors, free agency players that have been linked to the Knicks, same old stuff, this time of year. And lastly, I want to talk about the draft, who the Knicks should pick if they decide to move up. And if they stay at 19 and 21, who I would pick for the Knicks. So let's get right into it. As far as the key dates for the Olympics are in Tokyo, Japan, Friday, July 23rd through Sunday, August 8th, and it'll be covered by NBC. It's a little over 2 weeks. I don't know why I always thought the Olympics was like a month or two, right? But anyway, Barrett, there are 4 teams that have yet to qualify for the basketball tournament, and Canada is one of them, and that's the team that Barrett plays on. So there are 4 tournaments going on around the world. Whoever wins that tournament gets a spot, get one of the 4 spots in that Greece. On Wednesday, they played China, blew them out. RJ played pretty well in both games. He was actually a big factor in the Tuesday game. That allowed them to kind of get back in the game, kind of seal the victory, so to speak. That was a close game. The next game against China, was pretty much a blowout. Okay, so if they win their semifinal game tomorrow and then get to the finals and win that, Canada goes to the Olympics for the first time since 2000, and we'll get an opportunity to see Olympic RJ Barrett, right? So I'm excited about that for him. I'm not sure. I think it was on ESPN Plus. You get an opportunity if you want to watch them play tomorrow against the Czech Republic. Okay, so I'm rooting for RJ. I would love to see him in the Olympics. Other key dates: the U.S. select team versus United States basketball in Las Vegas from July 6th to July 18th. Now, if you're not familiar with the select team, before the United States basketball team leaves for the Olympics, they usually play against practice, I should say, against younger NBA players. And that's for the select team. And you have to be selected to play. And Obi Toppin and Manuel Quickly were chosen for the select team. So they'll get an opportunity to go out to Vegas and practice against the United States Olympian team. I think that's great. That means that they're on the Olympic selection committee's radar. They'll get a chance to go out there with other young players to practice against the Olympians. And who knows, maybe, they'll be able to soak up some knowledge from the veterans. Maybe somebody will work out with them. But for sure, they'll be able to develop those relationships with their peers. And the way free agency is going now, those relationships are proven to be important. If you have a relationship with someone and it's coming free agent time, a lot of times people are pairing up. I don't think that's the only factor, but it is a deciding factor. So they'll be out there and they'll have an opportunity to work with the Olympic team and get to know their teammates better. So USA's first basketball game is Sunday, July 25th versus none other than France and FIBA Frank. For those of you who are Frank fans, you'll get an opportunity to see him in the Olympics versus the United States in their very first game on the 25th. Don't worry about trying to remember the dates. I'll keep you abreast every week as we go through it. Lastly, Luca Vildoza and Argentina have their first game on Monday, July 26th. I'm not sure who their opponent is, but if you remember Luca Vildoza, he was signed by the Knicks on a 3 or 4 year contract. The first year is guaranteed. That's paid already. The rest of it doesn't become guaranteed until the season starts. So I'm sure the Knicks are going to be looking at how he performs in the Olympics. Summer League, which is in August, practice as they get an opportunity to assess him and decide whether they're going to guarantee that contract. I think they will. But for us fans, we only have one point guard on this roster other than Luka. Oh, Emmanuel quickly, maybe. This is an opportunity for us to see them. So that's the Olympic news. Oh, one more thing. Randall will not be on the Olympic team. Jerry Coangelo, the national team managing director of the U.S. Olympics, basically made a statement that he chose Kevin Love of the Cleveland Cavaliers, that he edged out Randall because he has Olympic experience. And he does. And it kind of, makes sense, the way they play, his three-point shooting to stretch the floor. Then I looked at his stats. He played just 25 games this year, injured, off injured, I should say. And he shot 36.5% from three this year and 37% overall. That's decent. I think that's probably the league average. But I don't know. I just thought he was a better three-point shooter than that. And I wonder if Randall's subpar play in the playoffs made any impact on that decision. But it is what it is. Hopefully we'll get a chance to see Barrett. We'll see Frank. We'll see Luka. And those select teams' games, I believe, are televised. And if it is, we'll get an opportunity to see IQ and Obi practice against the U.S. Olympic team. So there's our Olympic team. There's our Olympic news. Let me just give a shout out. Let me just give a shout out to the chat. OK83. Why is Chris Duarte in the thumbnail? Designer Inc., Sharif Cooper, Easily, Danny Thomas, appreciate you. Sherman M., appreciate you. Nashon Bones Highland, that's Sim's pick, or Sim like him. I don't know if that's a pick of his, but he does like him. Gene C. Mac, Raw Hebrew Moment, appreciate you. BX Sports Jetty, appreciate you. C. Mac, Steph is gonna pick Dre, man, I feel it. Appreciate all of you guys, hanging out with us. Let me just take this moment just to remind everybody that on July 29th in Atlantic City, we are going to be having a draft party, right? So if you're a member, you already got that information. It's $25 from 5 to 8 p.m. You get an opportunity to there'll be live broadcasts, but you'll get an opportunity to mingle with us. Maybe you have issues with some of the things I've said on the podcast. It's an opportunity for us to talk about it. I would love to meet you guys. It's one thing to see you in the chat. You guys show up faithfully and we appreciate it. But I would love to put a face to the name. So if you guys can make it out there, I'll be there. Chris, who shares the panel with me sometimes, will be there. Of course, Sam, Die Hot Podcast, Knicks will be there. Legion of Knicks will be there. Tony Crow and others. We're going to have a great time, right? So if you can make it, do so. Life is short. Get an opportunity to have some fun. Come hang out with the MBK family. Okay. I believe we'll put the link in the chat for those who haven't signed up already. All right. Moving right along here. I'm just going to say, before I even get into the trade free agent rumors, and in this segment, I'm going to let you know whether I say yay or whether I say nay. It's the same stuff. It's the same stuff. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on it. We're going to go, we're going to go through it pretty quickly. Dame. I've talked about Dame at length. I'm not going to go too much into it, but the new development is they hired a coach and Chauncey Billups. There's some controversy around the hire. Um, at one point, I don't know if it's still going on, fans was giving Dame a lot of flack for the hire, that he didn't, there wasn't a lot of pushback. He didn't know about some allegations that happened back in the 90s. We're not going to get into that here. And so there's still rumors that he may act out of Portland. And if he does, of course, the Knicks are going to be interested. I went through this already. Dame is built for New York. His game is built for the Garden. He's not going to melt under the bright lights, right? However, would I trade for Damian Lillard? Me, if it was my choice, I say nay. I say nay. And it doesn't have anything to do about fear of giving up young players. Doesn't have anything to do with his contract. I don't have a problem with that either. He's 31 years old. A player's prime is usually 26 to 31. Some of these players are pushing it even further. See LeBron, Chris Paul, and Dame look like he's going to be one of those. But how far can you push it? 3 years to 34, 4 years to 35, right? That's a really short window to try to win a championship. And if you miss and you don't, what do you have left? Do you have any assets left that within the next, I don't know, 2, 3 years, you can be back at it? And by back at it, I'm not even talking about championship contender. I'm just talking about the playoffs. So that's my issue with Dame, is that the window is too short. I don't have any other issue with it. I prefer a 6-hour winning window, so to speak. But other than that, I don't have any issues with Dame. So would I trade for him? No, I would not. The next thing I want to talk about is Jalen Brunson. We've talked about him on this channel before, on this show before, but there was an article that, I don't know, Chris Berman wrote it. It seemed like somebody was writing for him because there was a lot of mistakes, but I digress. Brunson is under contract for next season, right? However, he's due an extension. It's the last year of his contract. And the article was basically saying that if he doesn't sign the extension, that Dallas may trade him instead of risking him becoming an unrestricted free agent in the summer of 2022 and losing him for nothing, right? So Jalen Brunson, he's the backup point guard for the Dallas Mavericks, plays behind Luka Vildoza. So let's just talk about him really quick, because I know there's some Knicks fans who say he's a backup point guard and he will always be a backup point guard. I'm not so sure about that. I want to talk about him. I want to compare him with another player who started his career as a backup and actually did pretty well for himself, I think. So Brunson is 6'1", 190 pounds. He'll be 25 years old on August 31st. This season, he played 68 out of 72 games, averaged 12.6 points, 3.4 rebounds, 3.5 assists, shot 52.3% from the field, 40.5% from the three-point line, and about 80% from the free throw line. I don't know if you got an opportunity to watch him play. He's not super quick. He's not super quick. He's not, that tall, obviously, but he's stocky, and he can get where he needs to go. So this is somebody that can run an offense, that can get to the basket and finish, even though he plays under the rim. That can shoot the three. I like him. I like him, but I want to compare him with the first few years of Lowry's career, right? So we're all familiar with Kyle Lowry, right? 6 feet, 196 pounds, also began his NBA career as a backup, right? And shout out to BX Jetty, who brought this to my attention, because the first thing I said was Brunson is a backup. And he was the first to point out to me, so was Kyle Lowry. And that is the truth. Kyle Lowry didn't score in double figures until his 7th year in the league. 7th year in the league, right? His first Let me just pull that up really quick. Lowry's first 3 years total, these are his averages the first 3 years in the league. 21.6 minutes a game, 7.6 points, 2.8 rebounds, 3.5 assists, shot 41.2% from the field goal. That's not really good. And under 30% from 3-point percentage. And he was about an 80% free throw shooter. Brunson's numbers over his first 3 years are much better than that. But my point is, I'm not saying that Brunson is Kyle Lowry, but what I am saying is just because someone starts off as a backup doesn't mean that they're destined to be a backup for the rest of their career. Now, if he became available, the Dallas Mavericks wanted to trade him and he became available. If I was the New York Knicks, would I trade for Brunson to be my starting point guard? I say nay. And I like him. I like him. The only reason I say nay is because I believe the Knicks are going big game hunting. And if they are, they're going to need a point guard that has some experience playing the position where this is not their playing the position as a starter, where this is not their first year doing so. So I wouldn't do it. However, if he was willing to be a backup, don't kill me, Knick family. Don't kill me. I know we love this player, but if he was willing to be a backup, I would sign him over Derrick Rose. Well, let me backtrack a little bit. If we signed a veteran point guard to start, I would sign Brunson to back that veteran point guard up. I know we love Rose, but he's injury prone. Even at 20, 25 minutes, there's still always a chance that he can miss games, you know? And listen, this guy takes care of his body. He's very diligent. He understands his body. He takes care of it. It seems like 12 months out of the year. It just happens with him. It just happens. So if we had a veteran point guard, I wouldn't mind Brunson being the backup. If we went with a young point guard like a Ball, Schroeder even, I would want Rose back. I mean, I think you have to have some leadership at that position, either starting or the backup. So that's where I stand on Brunson. He's a bit undersized for that position, but as we'll talk about earlier when we get into the draft, I'm over height, I'm over wingspan, I'm over athleticism. If you're not a player, you're not a player. And these guys been playing, undersized and short wingspans for a long time. They know how to get to their spots. Okay? What do we say, Chad? How do we feel about Brunson? I know we talked about him. It was a few weeks ago, but he was in the news, so I just brought it back. Roy Hebrew Remnant states, I think if Rose leaves, the Knicks are planning for Bulldozer as a backup point. Yeah. I mean, Rose did have some concerns about whether or not he would be offered the comeback. He said he wouldn't mind, but he even said the Knicks are going big name or big game hunting, and he wasn't sure if he would be back. C-Mac, does Brunson play better defense than Rose? I believe so. He's a pesky defender. He doesn't have Rose size, but he's a pesky defender. Nothing but Knicks. I remember Billups was definitely almost out of the league. Exactly. Andy Garcia, ideally, I would give up the 21st pick for Brunson, and then you extend him from there. Okay. And Andy Garcia, would you be signing him as your starter or as a backup after giving up that 21st pick? What about Vildoza? I think they got him as a backup, Roy Hebrew Remnant. Yeah, that's the thing with Vildoza. Vildoza is we haven't seen them. The Knicks have, though. The Knicks have. So maybe, they already know that he's going to be the backup. And they just signed that contract that's not guaranteed. just in case he just flops in the Olympics or flops, in summer league. So you're right. Maybe they already know he's going to be the backup. I haven't seen him play. I'm looking forward to seeing him play in the Olympics, to see if that would be a possibility. From the scouting reports that I've seen, he looks pretty good to me. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing him in the Olympics and definitely um, in the summer league. Um, Brunson is crafty, and I wouldn't mind getting him as long as the price is right. hmm What wings? Yes, that's the Knicks need wings. The Knicks need wings. Um, and Andy Garcia, I want to sell Kyle Lowry to a 1 and 2 year deal. Forget Brunson. He wants Kyle Lowry. I'm not opposed to that. On a 1 or 2 year deal, if he will accept it, I'm not opposed to Kyle Lowry. And you may have to overpay, especially if it's a 1 year contract, you definitely overpay. But even on a 2 year player, 2 year deal, you may have to pay him more than you like. But I don't mind overpaying players on a short contract. For me, the issue I have is these long contracts where a player is no longer able to contribute to the team and they're still taking up salary cap space. You're still paying them $15, $20 million and they 37, 38, 39. I'd rather pay them up front, give them a short contract, overpay, so to speak, and clear the cap so that the cap is always clean as we're rolling along. Um, Shout out to Jersey Rick for the super chat. I don't want to trade the farm for Dame or anyone else. I love the show, Steph. Appreciate you. Appreciate all of you coming out for the show. Um, Nick family. I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem selling the farm if the play is worth it and if I'm going to win a championship. And again, there's no guarantees. And I know there are many fans who disagree with me on this, but if the Knicks win a championship, say we trade for Dame. I'm not a proponent of it because of the short window, but say we do it. And say year 2 or 3, we win a championship. I'm good. If it takes the next 5, 6 years after that to even get back to the playoffs, I'm good, right? I know there's some Knicks fans that would like a competitive team every single year. Listen, we see that all the time. Teams not getting better. They get to the playoffs, they play, they get to the first or second rounds every single year, and they don't make it any further. But they're an entertaining team, they're competitive, and for some organizations, that's great. You know, for me, I have no problem doing what the Lakers did. I have no problem doing what New York did. Do you think? I mean, we'll get into it a little later, but I don't have a problem um, trading players as long as the price is right and as long as it's the right player. Justin Hernandez, thank you for the super chat. Not to the point where you overdraft your bank. I'm not sure what that means. Where you spend more money than you have? I'm not sure what that means. Or if you're saying you're giving up so much assets, I mean, obviously you have to be smart about it, right? You can't be reckless. You can't spend I mean, the Knicks are smart, right? They know you can't spend everything on 2 players and not be able to build out the team, right? I'm sure they've taken all of that um, into consideration. Okay, so on to the biggie. I think it's a biggie, right? Christian Winfield of the New York Daily News reported that sources told the Daily News that the Knicks are willing to include RJ Barrett in trades for Dame or Beal if they become available. Both of those players are under contract. What does that mean? Like, what is that saying? To me, it's saying a few things. One is saying that they believe in Randall. right? You're not trading for Dame, you're not trading for Beal unless you believe that Randall All-Star berth or All NBA berth was a fluke, right? You're not trading for these players if you don't believe you already have one, right? And they understand if you're gonna compete in this league, you need at least two. And if they're going for Dame or Bill, they believe they have one. You know, his performance in the playoffs gives me pause, but it seems like from what I'm hearing, the moves the Knicks are trying to make, that they believe in him. Okay. I think the other thing it signifies is that they understand, and whether this is because they was putting out their feelers, everybody talks behind the scenes. So maybe they've been putting out their feelers that they've come to understand that Obi, a trade centered around Obi, IQ, a raw, injured Mitch, and draft capital is not going to get it done, right? It sounds like they've come to that conclusion. You want these players, that's not going to get it. You're going to have to give up RJ Barrett, a promising player. And think about this from the opposing team's perspective. They're giving up an experienced player in Dame or Beal or whoever else. It could be Cat, maybe who wants out. It could be Donovan Mitchell of Utah who wants out. They're going to want a promising prospect in return, right? Now, RJ's only been in the league 2 seasons, but they followed him through high school, Canadian Olympic, not the Olympic, the young Olympic under 19, I believe, Olympic team. They followed him through Duke. He made a significant jump from his first year to his second year. So they're thinking this is a promising prospect. If you have a trade centered around him, maybe I'll think about it. IQ hasn't been on the radar, right? He took everybody by surprise, pretty much. And I'm not saying he wouldn't be a valuable piece. He might have to go too, you know. And Obi, I know a lot of people are high on Obi, but for Obi's draft position, you can argue that his rookie season was a disappointment. A lot of people thought he would be NBA ready and be able to contribute more. He played better in the playoffs, but at the end of the day, in the playoffs, he averaged 5 points, 4 rebounds. I mean, come on, we have to be realistic here. So I think the Knicks are kind of, slowly coming around that if you want to keep RJ, fine. But if you go in big game hunting, don't come with a little pistol. You're going to have to come with something to get us to listen. And listen, if they do trade RJ Barrett, it doesn't mean that they don't value him. Of course they value him. Doesn't mean that they don't think he's going to be a good player. Of course they think he's going to be a good player. That's why they drafted him, right? But if they trade him, it's purely about timeline. They're looking for somebody that they think fits better right now, can play better right now. And RJ, they may think, may be a few years away from that. And that's all it means. The only thing I want to say to the Knicks fans is that we're going to have to adjust our mindset a little bit. I mean, we haven't been in this position in a while, right? So we kind of have to get out of what I like to call the garden mentality, right? And I don't mean Madison Square Garden. I mean the vegetable or flower garden, right? When you go to the nursery, you buy the little plant when it's about this high, you plant it, you watch it grow season after season, and you enjoy watching it grow. And for a lot of us, that's how we think about our draft picks. That's how we think about our players. We drafted them or we traded for them when they were young, and we want to see them grow. It's entertainment for us, right? But I want to encourage you to begin to look at players, and I'm not trying to dehumanize players, but we have to recognize the NBA is a business. So I'm encouraging you to look at players as assets. That's what they are. We look at the cap as an asset. We look at draft picks as assets, but we also have to look at players as assets, right? And if a team is keeping a player and deciding not to trade him, it's because they believe that that player, that asset is going to work better for them on the current team. If they trade that player, then they believe that the player coming in is going to be a better asset right now for what they're trying to do. Not that that player won't go on to be a good player. That's not what they're saying. I need somebody right now. So I'm going to flip this asset that might mature later for another asset that's going to mature, that's mature right now because this is what I need. Okay. So we kind of have to move away from watching our favorite players. You know, I think there's some Knicks fans that, as long as the Knicks are competitive, as long as they're, you know, they stay young and they have these players that we can watch, it's entertainment for them. It's entertaining. They're competitive, it's entertaining. But every NBA team, the NBA it's about a lot of things, but one of the things it's about is winning a championship. That's why we're here, to win a championship. And every decision that's made or not made has to be made with that in mind. How close or how far does that get me from winning the championship? Okay? And that's where and that's where, you know, the Knicks are. Um, a lot of people get on Danny Ainge. He used to be the general manager until recently for the Boston Celtics, for not signing Isaiah Thomas to that max contract after he got injured. But Danny Ainge is a businessman. He's thinking about assets. You know, do I want to pay max money to somebody who just got injured? You know, I mean, it's possible they had reservations anyway and just kind of used that. But hey, that was the thinking. And people got on him about that. But you know what? It turned out to be the right decision. Isaiah Thomas is not even in the league. And that money allowed them, I believe I'm correct, allowed them to sign Kyrie Irving, Kemba Walker. It didn't work out, but they had the funds to do it. That's all I'm saying. And also, hold on one second. I just want to make sure I'm keeping up with you guys. And the last team I want to point out is the Lakers. D'Angelo Russell became an All-Star. Jordan Clarkson was Sixth Man of the Year. Randall made All NBA second team. Lonzo Ball is coming into his own. Brandon Ingram is coming into his own. You think the Lakers didn't think that? Of course they thought that this could possibly happen, right? They drafted them. They scouted them. These are the players that they drafted. They thought that they would be good at some point, but they either traded or let them go in free agency. Why? Because they had an opportunity to get LeBron James and possibly win a little sooner, right? That's all it is. So all of that being said, would I include RJ Barrett in a trade for Damian Lillard? No. And that's not even about Barrett. We talked about Dave. It's more about his window. That's the only reason why. Would I include RJ Barrett in a trade for Bradley Beal? Yes, as in yesterday. Okay? Bradley Beal right now is who we hope RJ will be at some point. He is a perennial, not a one-time, a perennial All-Star, perennial All-NBA player. I believe he was an Olympian, and he is in his prime. He's in his prime. Now, some people are saying, oh, RJ may be better than Beal at some point. How much better can you be? He's an all-star, all-NBA type player. How much better would RJ have to be better than that? And I'm not talking about skill set. Okay, RJ may be a better ball handler than him. He may turn out to be a better, defender than him. That's skill set. Do you believe RJ Barrett will become a better overall player than Bradley Beal, which means one of the top players in the NBA? Is his ceiling that high? It might be. It might be. But when you have an opportunity to get somebody that's already that right now in his prime, I don't think you pass that up for somebody who might be down the line. That's just that's just my opinion on it. I prefer Beal over Dame because it gives us a longer window than 3 years. I think he's 20. I want to say he's 28. So his window kind of matches Randall's a little bit. I would trade for Beal in a heartbeat. Another reason why I think the Knicks are being aggressive, and then I'll get back to the chat, is I think I've seen it. I think the front office saw some vulnerabilities in those top three teams: the Nets, Philly, Milwaukee. And you may say for the Nets, well, the Nets, what vulnerability? They got injured. That's a vulnerability. That's a vulnerability. If anytime you have KD and particularly Kyrie Irving on your team, injuries can happen at any moment, right? So next year, people say, oh, it's just a fluke injury. Yeah, Irving is injury prone, and fluke injuries tend to happen to players who are injury prone, right? So there's always a possibility that one of that big three will get injured. I mean, they're potent enough, right? They still may have an opportunity. All right, before I get into the draft, let me check in with the chat. C Mac, appreciate you. I would trade Randall in a heartbeat. It doesn't fit the team style of play. We need to be a faster paced team. What, C Mac, what is the team style of play? It seems like this is the style of play the Knicks want to play. Unless you're saying that they're playing this way because this best fits Randall, that's a possibility. But that's what you do. That's what you do with your best player. We may not believe he's a perennial all-star or perennial all-NBA player. That's yet to be determined. But he is our best player right now, right? And if the Knicks are playing a style of play that kind of helps him shine and helps the team win, I'm not sure you can argue with that. Shout out to Vaughn Quan. Hope I'm saying everybody's name right. Lance Powers, Knicks Worldwide. Trey Man. Everybody's getting into. We're about to get into the draft right now. Arthur Noel, appreciate you. Hope Channel, appreciate you. May 4th. Bill's defense is suspect and he's small. Listen, you could take any NBA player, any draft prospect, as we're about to get into, but also any NBA player, and they're going to have positives and they're going to have negatives. His size hasn't stopped him from being an all-star and an all-NBA player. And not just one time. We have a lot of one-time, NBA all-stars, multiple times. He's one of the best players in the NBA despite his size. Appreciate you, Lance Powell. Everybody, appreciate you. That Isaiah Thomas contract ruined the Celtics for years and years. Nobody don't want to come to Boston because of that. I mean, that's a good point. That there's a flip side to that. But come on, can you blame a general manager for not wanting to give max money to a player who got injured? And I get it. Isaiah Thomas was everything to that team. His sister passed away. He still played in the playoffs. He gave them everything. So I wish there was another way they could have rewarded him. But I don't know if you give him max money, and he's not in the league. I don't know. But as you've been doing chat, let me know how you feel. C-Mac, I'll take this last one from C-Mac. The style of play should focus on RJ rather than Julius Randle. The NBA already locked down Julius. Well, RJ to me is on self-lock. And that could be, just because he's playing behind Randle, that he just feels like he can't, come out of the flow of the offense. Or maybe if that's just how he plays. When you look at Quick will come out of the flow of the offense quickly, pun intended. to get his shot off. RJ plays within the flow of the offense, plays within the flow of the offense. It's not hard to stop a player like that, right? But he's still young. We're still young. We'll see him. All right. Let's get into the draft. All right. Today I'm focusing on the guards. I'm going to pick two guards. I'm going to pick a guard. I'm going to pick one guard if the Knicks happen to package those picks and move up, who I would choose if they do that, but also who I would choose if they stayed at the 19th and 21st pick. I'm going to focus on the guards. I don't think the Knicks are going to draft two guards, but that's what I'm going to focus on today. Next week, I'll do the wings. We'll do the bigs after that. I should also say, I'm not looking for a starter in this draft, right? So I included point guards, I included shooting guards, but I didn't include them with the hopes that one of them was going to play opposite of RJ Barrett, right? I think these players are going to be either developmental players that may crack the rotation, but I don't see them coming in as starting. Okay, so when I was thinking about it, I was thinking of who could crack the rotation, maybe get some time in that second team and help us, right? That's what I was thinking about. I don't think the next point guard of the future is coming out of this draft. I just don't think the Knicks are going that way. And that being said, all of these prospects, and trust me, I poured over hours and hours of scouting reports, reading scouting reports. They all have weaknesses. You get high on a player, you see in the highlights, you're like, wow, why is this guy not going in the lottery? Then you read the weaknesses and you're like, I don't even know why this player isn't drafted at all. That's just how it goes. They have positives, they have, weaknesses. What I think you want to do as a franchise, what I'm guessing is you're betting that a player will overcome those weaknesses and become a very good or solid basketball player. Let me get to this super chat. Danny Thomas, appreciate you. Rather trade for Sexton. I think he can be a great scorer next to Randall and RJ. He probably can, but I would like more. He probably can. I'm not high on Sexton. I would like I want to say I would like a more playmaking guard. I don't mind you being shoot first, but play make as well. I'm just not that high on Sexton. I do like his quickness. He's shooting better. He can get to the rim whenever he wants to. But for whatever reason, I'm not high on Sexton. But his name keeps coming up, so I'm going to spend some more time researching him and looking at more games of Sexton play. All right. If the Knicks packages their picks and move up in the draft, remember, they have the 19th and 21st pick, so they're not moving up in the top five. Yes, I would love Cade Cunningham. I would love Green. I would love Mobley. I love Mobley. Let me say this. Looking through all of these scouting reports, there's only 4 players that I looked at, given their weaknesses, of course, that had me saying, whoa, I really like this play. Only 4, and I've seen a lot so far. That's Green from G League Ignite, Mobley out of USC, Sharif Cooper out of Auburn. I know he's slight, I know. And BJ Boston out of Kentucky, who he must have fell into the second round. Those are the only guys when I looked at that I was really excited about. Doesn't mean these other guys won't be good players. Anyway, if I was moving up, I would take Davion Mitchell, partly because he may be within range for the Knicks to move up and get, right? Some rankings have him high. I've seen him at 7. I've seen him as low as 14. If he gets to 14, the Knicks may have an opportunity with that 19th and 21st pick to trade up. Other than that, higher than that, the Knicks would have to include other assets if they want to move up higher than that, like into the early lottery. The reason why Davion might fall is because of his age. He's 22 years old. A lot of teams see that as old. A lot of teams want to go with younger point guards that still have room to develop, where you don't really know what their ceiling is. Jaden Springer out of Tennessee, 18 years old, right? So he may drop just because of his age, and the only team that he may not get past, maybe Golden State. Golden State is an established team. They may not be looking for younger players. They may be looking for somebody who could come in and give them some minutes and contribute right away. And Davion Mitchell will probably be able to do that. So I like him. He's an elite shooter from all areas of the court. Hit 45% of his threes. Wow. And 52% of his field goals. He doesn't take bad shots. One of the best on-ball defenders in the country, right? And I see him with that second unit. If we don't, well, he would have to win it. He would have to snatch it, right? Like Quickly did. Tibbs wasn't planning on playing Quickly. In the preseason game, he snatched it. So for Davion to get time, he would have to snatch his time to get into the rotation. He's strong, so he's able to switch onto bigger players thanks to his strong frame. So given his strong frame. So if I was to trade up, I would trade up for him. He does need to improve as a pick and roll facilitator. He's a poor free throw shooter, 66.7%. And that's not just 1 year. He's in college 3 years. All 3 years, it was around that 66.7%. I don't know if it's mental or what, but that is concerned. He does have limited leaping ability. Some say his age is a weakness, but for a team like the Knicks, a playoff team, I don't think age is much of an issue. I don't think they're looking for really young players that need a lot of development. That's my opinion. What do you guys think if the Knicks were to trade up? Brooklyn Belly, I would take Sharif Cooper. I love Sharif Cooper, man. But you could get him. I don't think you have to trade up for him. You don't have to trade up for him. Miles McBride is also a big sleeper. Yeah, listen, put in the chat, who else I should take a look at. They're probably on my list already. Shout out to Carlos Pena for the super chat. With the 19th, 21, and Dallas 2023 pick, which is a first round pick, get us that number 8 from Orlando. I would hope. I don't think so. I don't think so. That Dallas pick, I believe, is top 10 protected. I don't think so, but maybe. With the 8th pick, if we were able to go up that high in the 8th at 8, maybe book night. If we were able to get the 8th pick, I would have to look some more. I like the big guy. He's raw though. We're already dealing with a raw Mitch. The center from Texas. I really like him. C-Mac. If we trade up, the Brooklyn kid James Bouknight is the guy. I'm not sure if we could trade up that far. I mean, he's been marked all over the place, I have to say. In the early lottery, I saw one place where he was marked in 21. I don't know. I mean, I don't know about that. But yeah, I think the Knicks will look and see who's falling and then make a decision, can we package these picks and move up to get this guy. May 4th, we have a lot of holes to fill. I can't trade anything. Listen, 60% of our rotation is unsigned. So if the Knicks want to build off of last season, they got a lot of work to do, right? They only have 40% of that rotation under contract. And 2 of those were rookies, right? So if the Knicks are trying to build off last season, they're starting a little behind, in my opinion. They have a lot of work to do. All right, here we go. With the 19th pick in the 2021 NBA draft, I select Trey Mann, point guard out of Florida, for the New York Knicks. It was a close second with Sharif Cooper. It was close. Trey Mann is a 6'5" guard, 190 pounds, again, out of Florida. He averaged 16 points, 5.6 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 1.4 steals, 45.9% field goal percentage, shot 40.2% from three, and is an 83.1% free throw shooter. His strength is his size and athleticism. He's 6'5", solid athleticism. NBA range, you cannot go under the screen on this guy. He's a very good scorer off the dribble. He's very shifty with his dribble, step backs, turn around, can stop on a dime, get his shot off. Shown that he could shoot off the catch, but he didn't really take a lot of those. I think maybe 32 or something. Most of his shots were off the dribble. He can shoot in the pick and roll, off the pick and roll in a variety of ways, and he has a floater. He has a floater, right? So he can make basic reads in the pick and roll, but even if you can make basic reads in the pick and roll, if you can't shoot and you don't have a floater, that really limits the effectiveness of the pick and roll. And I think that's what, for me, gave Trey Mann the edge over Sharif. I love Sharif. I know he's slight, but this guy can get wherever he wants on the floor. I'm talking about Sharif. He has a good handle. He can make every pass out of the pick and roll, every pass out of the on the court, basically. I think he was the only college player to average 20 points and 8.1 assists. Very good playmaker. But his floater is suspect. He shot under 23% from three-point line. So, yeah, I mean, you can make every read and every pass out of the pick and roll. But if you can't keep the defense honest because you're a threat yourself, that kind of limits the effectiveness of the pick and roll. So I like him. I'm not concerned about his slight frame. There's a lot of players with slight frames who have done well in the NBA. Trae Young, still in the playoffs. I'm not saying he's Trae Young, but there are shades of Trae Young in his game. And if he could ever get a floater and a three, yeah, he can run a pick and roll just like Trae can, right? Allen Iverson was slight. I'm not saying he's Allen Iverson. I'm just saying players with slight frames who've done well. So I'm not too concerned about that. But Trey Mann, to me, kind of edged him out. He can create space with his shiftiness to get his shots off. And like I said, he can make basic reads in the pick and roll. Weaknesses. Now, his body, right? So he has short arms, alligator arms, maybe, I don't know. But he's 6'5", his wingspan is 6'5", maybe even 6'4". To me, that's not a concern. Now, if he was 6 feet, you would want somebody who's undersized to have a longer wingspan so that they can, guard people that are, bigger than they are. But he has good enough size at 6'5", right? Sure, if he had a longer wingspan, that would be even better. But I don't have a problem with his wingspan. He doesn't need to play bigger than 6'5". There's a lack of explosiveness and blow-by speed. But he's shifty with the dribble, right? There's a lot of players in the NBA that doesn't have elite first speed, foot speed, a good first step, but they get to where they need to go on the court. They find other ways, hesitations, off of a screen, different ways to get open. I'm not concerned about that. Defensively, he's inconsistent on ball. Sometimes there's good efforts. Sometimes then it's not. He does get blown up, so to speak, because of he also has a kind of small frame. So, but I think once he puts on some weight, he'll be fine in that area. I'm not worried about his consistency. He has the defensive tools. Any player that goes to play for a defensive-minded coach like Tibbs, and they have the physical tools, and the coach holds them accountable, they're going to be better defensively, period. I'm not worried about that. Now, if you're not a good defensive player, at least you can play, and you don't have the tools, you can play good, position defense, right? Look at Booker from the Phoenix Suns. He wasn't a great defensive player. Monty Williams got in there. He demanded that they play defense. And he even said it himself. He doesn't want to be the only one. If you don't play defense on his team, you look out of place. Right? So I'm not worried about that. I am worried he doesn't finish that well at the rim, right? He doesn't have a lot of explosiveness, so he struggles to finish there. Um, However, he has a float game, a developed float game, right? So if you can't get all the way, you could get that floater off. I'm good. I still think as he bulks up, he'll be able to finish. He'll never be an above the rim um, finisher, but he'll be a below the rim finisher. I'm okay with that. He forces things sometimes, ill-advised passes, ill-advised drives to the basket, picks up his dribble too soon. He has a decent handle, but he can still stand to improve it some. And his decision making in the pick and roll has to get better. He can make those basic reads, but his decision making needs to be better. Let me get to the chat. And like I said, Sharif Cooper was a close second, and I kind of outlined why I gave Trey Mann the edge. May 4th, the one thing I'm not worried about is Knicks drafting. We have done extremely well the past few years, really. I don't know, May 4th. I don't know. I look at Frank. I look at Kevin Knox. I look at Obi, right? Didn't really perform as expected for the 8th pick and somebody who was supposed to be NBA ready. I don't know. Quickly, yes. Nick Real Talk, Moody out of Arkansas. I could have included Moody, but I'm going to include him in the when I do the wings next week. Dan Blah, to see a great Trey Mann game, watch Florida versus Tennessee, who have two strong defenders that are first rounders. Okay. Well, on Quan, man is that dude. Kareem Grant, peace to you. Cooper can't shoot. Cooper can't shoot. Cooper can't shoot. I love that kid, but 28, under 23% from 3-point, that's just not gonna cut it. Shout out to Danny Thomas. Thank you for the super chat. Trade 19 and 21 for Josh Giddey or Kai Jones. It's going to take more than that. Kai Jones has been mocked in the lottery, right? Giddey, I've seen Giddey in the lottery too, but I've also seen him in the late lottery. So I'll go over him. He's a point guard as well. And when I picked Trey Mann, it was a few players that I looked at. I'll tell you right now who I looked at. I looked at Davion Mitchell. I looked at Trey Mann. I looked at Sharif Cooper. I looked at Chris Duarte. I looked at Cameron Thomas. I looked at Jay Springer. I looked at Jarrett Butler. So I watched film and Giddey as well. I didn't think Giddey would be in reach. I thought we would have to trade up for him. And I would prefer to trade up for Davion Mitchell than Giddey. And plus two people who I really respect in the NBK fam, Gmo and Andy, thought Giddey was a bit overrated. And I trust their opinion. I did watch tape on him. I liked his size. I liked his playmaking, but shooting is an issue with him as well. He's not very fast either, but again, I'm so over wingspan, span, height, this, that, and the other. But these guys have been playing in their body for a very long time. They know how to overcome this, that, and get to their spots. It's true. Sometimes you get to another level and what worked for you in college may not work for you in the NBA. Yes, that's possible, but I'm not putting too much into that because I just see so many people in the NBA get into their spots who are not very quick. C-Mac said Josh Giddey got that G League 10-day contract player aura all over him. Maybe, listen, a lot of these guys that are marked to go high, I don't think they're going to contribute that first year. Maybe the top few. After that, I don't know if there's going to be a lot of contributions from this draft class. I just haven't been impressed. I wasn't with MBK last year, but they went over the draft a lot, right? Because the Knicks had the 8th pick. How many of those guys popped that first year? You know, Halliburton looked okay. You know, he looked good, actually. It's going to take a few years to really know what you're getting out of any draft class. All right. Last, before we get out of here. With the 21st pick and the 2021 NBA draft, I select Chris Duarte, shooting guard, maybe even small forward, out of Oregon for the New York Knicks. 6'6", 190 pounds, so a little thin. He averaged 17.1 points, 4.6 rebounds, 2.7 assists, 1.9 steals, shot 53.2% from the field, 42.4 from three, 82.5 from the free throw line. This guy is a bona fide sniper, okay? He's 24 years old. You know, he played 4 years, 2 years in a junior college, 2 years at Oregon. You know, as far as ceiling and upside, it may not be much. You know, what you see right now may be all you're going to get out of this kid. And if that's it, I'll take it. You know, he's an excellent shooter off the dribble, off screens, off catch and shoot. You have to respect his three-point shooting. You can't go under the screen on him. He has NBA range, right? He gets to the rim and he finishes, converted 62.7% of his shots at the rim. He's a good positional defense. Now, there's been some, you know, one scouting report I would read that he's a good on-ball defender, a good 3-and-D guy, and then I'll read another scouting report that'll say he's not a good on-ball defender, but he's a good positional defender. I'll take it. 2.7 stocks per game. Stocks means steals and blocks combined, 2.7. He has good instincts and quickness, plays the passing lanes for steals, and he's a good shot blocker for his size, including chasing down players and blocking the shot. His weakness, playmaking. So he struggles with passing out of the pick and roll. Personally, I would not have him initiate in the pick and roll. I would have him set up in a corner so that he can receive the pass off the pick and roll. I wouldn't initiate with him. Like I said, there's mixed scouting reports. You know, some he's a poor on-ball defender, other he's a very good on-ball defender. He had the defensive tools, and like I said, you come to a defensive-minded team with a coach that's going to hold you accountable, your defense will improve, right? Especially with Tibbs, right? If you're a rookie, you under the 8 ball anyway in terms of getting time. So as much as if you drafted by the Knicks before you go into camp, while you're working on your jump shot, you may also want to be working on some defensive drills as well if you want to see time, right? Again, a low ceiling. He's 24 years old, probably doesn't have a lot of upside. I'm good with that, right? I think the Knicks would be looking for players that could contribute right now. And this is a guy who can come in with his size and the way he shoots. If you're not familiar with him, check him out. With the way he shoots, I think he can command some minutes. We'll see. The last thing I want to say is the reason why I included point guards and off guards. A lot of people think that's not a need for the Knicks. Listen, quickly could get traded, right? It's like people are saying, oh, we already have our 2 guard off the bench. That's Quickly's role. What if Quickly gets traded, right? If he gets traded, then you still need to have young players on the back end of that rotation. Either they're out of the rotation and you're developing them, or they're in the rotation, getting a few minutes per game, right? We don't know what the Knicks are going to do next week, or maybe 2 weeks from now, when I go over the power forwards and centers. You would think power forward is not a need for the Knicks. They have Randall, right? But you might need a young power forward that you're bringing up. What if they trade Obi? We don't know what the Knicks are going to do. So I think in this draft, we got to look at everybody because we don't really know who's going to be here and who's not going to be here, right? What do you think about my picks? Trey Mann, Chris Duarte, I'm about to go to the chat right now. Andrew Palazzo, I hope I said that right. Miles McBride and Isaiah Jackson. Yes, they're on the list for me to check out. Knicks Worldwide, please get Book Night. I like Book Night. I don't know if the 19th and 21st pick is going to get Book Night. Now, if he begins to fall, perhaps it will. Brooklyn Roots, if IQ gets traded, it's going to also include the 19th and or the 21st pick. I mean, if that happens, do you think that would be for somebody in the draft or for a veteran player already in the NBA? Let me know. Hanky Stanky 420 OG. I'm high on Cam Thomas as off the bench flamethrower. Cam Thomas was my close second. I mean, Chris Duarte, he's just a flamethrower. I mean, this guy can shoot. And there's always room for shooters, even if you're one-dimensional, and that's all you can do. Look at Korver. Pal Korver has been in the league. I'm not sure if he was on the roster this past season, but he was in the league for a very long time. Why? Because he could shoot, right? But Cam Thomas was my second choice for the 21st pick, a gifted scorer out of LSU, microwave type scorer that can score on all three levels. No doubt about it. I like him as well. Somebody said if we traded quickly the 19th and 21st, it would probably be for a player in the league already. Yes. Let me just make sure I didn't miss any super chats. I did not going to have draft capital if we trade IQ. Building roots. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the Knicks front office is smart. You know, I think they're smart. I think they know if we do this, then we're not going to be able to do this. If we give up all our assets in a trade, if a player becomes disgruntled, we're not going to be able to have any assets left. I think that's the conversation that's going on in the front office. Thank you guys. If there's anybody else, I'll go back through because I know you guys had threw some players in the chat. Most of them are on my list already. Knicks Worldwide. Patrick Williams looked good. He did look good. Captain Slim, love the show, and overall your opinion, Steph, keep growing. I definitely will. Forget wingspan and height, and let's talk players with heart. No doubt about it. I think that was our issue with Nas, even though I like Nas. I got to say, I like Nas. But I think, they just got so caught up in his wingspan. I don't know. Listen, I'm about to be out. I'll again want to invite you July 29th, Thursday, Atlantic City, MBK draft party. The link is in the chat, pinned to the top. We'd love to see you guys there. We're going to have a ball. Really, we're going to have a ball. And just to be able to, to talk with you guys face to face, that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to meeting some more of the MBK fan. I met some already, but I'm also looking forward to meeting you guys. So please, if you can make it, make the effort to come out there, chill, hang out with us. You won't regret it. Until next week, nothing but love. Peace.